I've become very aware that I suppress anger because I have a feeling that I'll end up all alone, and I somehow won't cope with that.
Right.
It would be sort of almost like dying.
Okay, so there's a deep emotional belief in you. So we could say the deep core of belief is that I'm alone, and I had a deep core belief that I'm nothing to anybody. Right? Now, those things are not true in that there are many spirit friends around you who are always with you, and of course God's always with you, wanting a relationship with you, and God certainly doesn't believe you're nothing, but you believe it, and it comes from your childhood, and it is an emotion that you need to allow yourself to feel. So if you're using anger to not get away from that emotion, then start seeing the relationship between your anger and that emotion and say, oh, I'm just angry again because again I don't want to be alone. You know, even if you just tell yourself that message, you're going to be one step further towards feeling the feeling of alone and allowing yourself to feel it. The truth is that none of us are alone, ever. But you're not going to feel that truth until you release that emotion. Until you release that emotion, you're going to believe there is a state in your life where you could be totally alone. And my feelings of being alone were so great that there was a time in my physical life, in this life, where I was totally alone. My parents wouldn't speak to me, my children wouldn't speak to me, none of my friends would speak to me. I lived alone, and I didn't have any work because I was so in my emotional turmoil at the time, quite suicidal, totally alone. And that's how much alone feeling I had to deal with. And then it took me about a year or so of processing in that state to get through that feeling and release that feeling of being just totally alone. Nobody wants me, feeling. Nobody cares about me. And the truth for my life was that that's exactly the truth. At that moment, nobody did. And that's the irony of dealing with a lot of these emotions, is you'll find actually that the truth is in those situations, just like the truth with the mum cooking the meal, is no, right at that moment, her family are not loving her. Right at that moment, she's not experiencing love, she feels unloved, and she's right. She is unloved, and she needs to feel that. But it's the unloved feeling that creates the attraction. Does that make sense? Like, this is the thing we've got to understand. So it was my deep alone feeling, which was so great that it created a situation in my life where I was totally alone, that nobody wanted anything to do with. Every single person I knew. And I had to then just allow myself to feel that feeling, which took some time to do, obviously. Now, as I dealt with that feeling, people started coming into my life again. So the first ones who started coming into my life were my sons, and they came back into my life. And then the next ones, then I attracted a partner, and then, you know what I mean? So things started happening then. I started getting friends that I'd never had before. They were starting to attract into my life, but only after I dealt with that feeling of being totally alone. My suggestion is don't wait that long. Like, I was pretty stubborn on that emotion, so stubborn that I had to actually be totally alone in my life physically before I deal with the emotion. My suggestion is don't wait that long. You know, if you feel the feeling of I'm alone just in an instant, let yourself go into the feeling straight away, rather than waiting for years and years until you get to a point where you are totally that thing.